Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of D-Town TV, the free show for DSLR shooters. My name's RC, and I'm here with Mr. Larry Becker. What's going on, man?
Hey, it's great to be back.
It's a nice day to be back. It's episode 100.
100, yeah.
So we made it to 100 episodes. Yay! That's all we got.
Yeah. Budget.
Congratulations. We just blew our entire budget right there on this one
100th
thing.
episode.
But hey, who would have thought, right?
Yeah.
100 episodes of...
Yeah, and it's because of you guys. Thanks for coming back and watching again and again. And thanks, everybody, for worrying about me. I missed the last 3 episodes of last season because I've just been slam busy. But that brings up a point, and that is that this season, we're going to be doing a bit more of that. I'll be out, you'll be out occasionally, and we've got other projects going on, but we've got great guys around here that really know photography, and we'll bring some different flavors to things throughout the season.
Right. But now we're going to talk about this episode. We're going to talk a little bit about, you're going to talk about speedlights.
Yep.
We've got some stuff from Doug Saunders. We've got some new classes on Cubby Training. I'm going to talk a little bit about this, which I'm really excited about, the Lee Big Stopper. We have Jay Maisel giving us a quick tip.
Right.
So there's tons of stuff. Kick us off. What do you have?
Okay, so one of the things that I wanted to point out is when you guys buy speed lights, a lot of people have a tendency, because it's easier, to go TTL, through the lens metering. And so it's fairly easy to set up, whether you're Nikon or Canon, it doesn't really matter. You set up your camera, and the camera then gives signals to the remote flash, assuming it's off camera, and that's specifically what I'm talking about, off camera. And you capture your image using a technique called TTL, through the lens metering. Well, my suggestion to you is, if you really want to learn this stuff and really want to understand what your flash is doing, TTL is great, it's nice, it meters and measures and it guesses and it sets the flash appropriately, but change it up every once in a while and go manual. That's what I'm asking you to do. For New Year's resolution, go manual. So the reason that you would want to do that is so that you understand better what's going on. You can control the actual exposure from your camera. You can change the settings on it. In some speed lights, you have to walk over and change it on the speed light, but go manual, don't go TTL. Just try and hold back from the automated system, and you'll find that you're teaching yourself more about the exposure and maybe different exposure groups and blending. And that kind of goes with the camera too. Put it on manual mode, learn your camera, make that as your new
Right, and that's what I was going to ask you. Did you mean going manual here, or going manual here, or going manual on both?
Well, initially I was starting with a don't do TTL tip.
Right.
But then let's make it kind of across the board.
Right.
If you really want to know more about how your flash works, set it up manual and see what it does. And if you want to know more about how your camera works, set it up manual and see what it does, and adjust and change all those things yourself. You'll have a lot better understanding about, I know when I first started with DSLRs, it was intimidating. So I had it automated, on program mode a lot. And then I went to aperture priority mode, and I learned that pretty well. But then full manual, you learn so much more about your camera, about your exposure. And so whether you're talking about the speed light being not TTL and just going with manual exposures and adjusting that in groups and things like that, or your camera, or both.
Yeah, it's generally a good idea for you to, like, when you're making exposures and doing things like that, as a general measure, if you want to be able to kind of play with light and play on a scene, understand that your camera isn't going to go past, let's say, 250th of a second.
Right.
Right. So you let's set yourself up manual, dial yourself into a shutter about 180th. Then from there, what you want to be able to do is take your f-stop and move your f-stop up and down. The more you go up and down on your f-stop, right, shallow to, let's say, f11, f16, you're going to introduce a lot less light into the camera, making everything dark.
Right.
At that point, you can just take your flash, set your flash to manual, and start full power, half power, quarter power, eighth power, 16th power. And all you're doing at that point is just playing with the f-stop, making the scene brighter or darker.
Right.
Right, to adjust your flash. And that's a good starting point for you to be able to do that kind of stuff. So a lot of the times, the best way for you to do it is 180th, start there, and then start playing with your f-stop, start playing with the power settings and getting them exactly where you need them.
Cool exposure.
Very, very cool.
Yeah, cool way to start.
All right, let's do this. Let's take a quick tip from Mr. Douglas Saunders. Douglas is phenomenal.
He is.
He does a lot of cool commercial stuff. You're going to want to see this one. Hey, everybody. RC here with commercial photographer Douglas Saunders.
Hello.
Hey. So now, I can't believe you're actually going to do this. All right, but it's very, very simple. You have a specific look.
Right.
When it comes to stuff.
Right, yes.
And he actually told me, and I was like, Really? That's it? You do it. You do it.
Well, it's not that simple, so it's just so you don't steal this, so people still hire me. But I'll teach you one of my little secrets so you get kind of my... people will say to me, oh, I love your work. It looks, if you go to sonosphotography.com, you'll see, they'll say, oh, it looks really kind of 3D. It feels like your subjects are kind of popping out. They think I'm doing it in post, but really I started with a good foundation in lighting. And one of the tricks I like to do to get a really cool structure, soft, smooth, yet really well sculpted shape out of somebody's face is I'll take one of my 1200 watt strobes and I'll take one of my PhotoFlex extra large softboxes, which are, about this wide, and then I'll bring it in to their face, just about in frame, but not quite. And it's cool, and you'll get these like great shapes that you'll see.
Like if it meant like just so that you know just how close.
Right.
Like if you could, if your hand was a softbox.
Okay.
And you were
sure.
taking a picture of me.
Right. Okay. Right
how
here.
How far would it be?
It would be like right here. We're talking like a foot and a half away, like 2 feet on an extra large light source like this. You'd be amazed the kind of sheen it creates on somebody's skin. Now, I just did this with a lot of trial and error, which I suggest all you do is always practice. Practice makes perfect, but you'll see that these shapes I have in these people's faces, but just by placing a light source, you can do it with a beauty dish or just a large softbox. But a diffuse, close-up, wide light source just outside of frame, and you'll see what kind of nice face shapes you get.
So, there you have it, the secret tip. Now, does that get you everything? No.
No.
If you want to be able to see more of that kind of stuff,
sign up for kelbytraining.com and see me there.
that's right. So, Douglas Saunders, thanks so much, man.
Thanks, RC. Pleasure.
Thanks so much, Douglas, for the tip. He's phenomenal.
Yeah.
He's also going to be at Photoshop World, so I'm really excited for that. If you want to be able to take a look at his stuff, make sure you take a look at the website. We have it here in the show notes. Now, let's take a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk to you a little bit about some Kelby training stuff. I want to talk to you about the Big Stopper and even get a quick tip in from Jay Maisel. Stick around.
Hi everybody, I'm David Zeiser. Hey, we have one great Kelby training video coming your way, and this time it's going to be on couples. What I'm trying to bring to this video is find the great locations to get some great photographs of your couples, how you can put great lighting on your couples, and then also how you can get great expressions. I can guarantee that you're going to love it. Join me on this Kelby training video, Shooting Couples.
Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for joining us once again. And the reason that we can do this is because you watch and because of our great sponsor, kelbytraining.com. You know, there are just tons of great photography classes on kelbytraining.com. Just anything at all that you think you might want to learn about, you want to get in depth about any of these quick tips that we hit on, that's the place to learn it. It's a tremendous, tremendous resource. In fact, one of the newest classes there is A Day with Joe McNally, and it's incomparable. It really does. It kind of builds on the success of The Day with Jay Maisel, which was a real hit.
Right, and it's almost kind of like it's almost kind of like you get up and you follow somebody who happens to be an absolute master at flash photography. I mean,
Yeah.
he's just a phenomenal photographer. And at the end of the day, what happens is if you get to a point where you kind of know your lights and you kind of know what it is that you're doing, I think that sometimes you learn so much more by just kind of shadowing somebody. So this Day of series, especially with Joe McNally now, kind of you sit behind the scenes and you watch how he sets up most of these things and you get all these different tips and tricks.
Well, that's a good point because a lot of people learn a lot of photography from being an apprentice, and not all of us can be an apprentice to somebody like Joe McNally, but now here's a way that you can.
Now, here, while we're at that, it's probably a good point for us to be able to mention that Joe's got a new book called Sketching Light. This book is huge. It's phenomenal. So there's a great amount of information in here, and one of the things that I'm admiring about it is the fact that he takes you from very, very simple setups and he starts building them up, making them more complex and making them more complex. But he does it in a backdrop of his jobs. Right. So he's showing you how he's taking a look at things, the things that he's factoring in. He's taking you back in time to some of the images that he's made. So it's kind of a historical look, as well as a very, very technical look for those individuals who just kind of want to sit and just watch everything be deconstructed.
And
so
his personality comes through too.
Oh, absolutely.
It's another one of those kinds of things where Joe McNally that you see on these videos, on these training videos, comes through.
He's got three things going for him. He's a master light person.
Yep.
He's a master writer and he's a master teacher. So all three get together in one spot.
Speaking of master teachers, my buddy RC,
Oh, thank you.
you have a tip on the Big Stopper. And we were talking about this
Yes.
before the show. It's really intriguing.
Right, so Lee came out with this program called the Big Stop, this product called the Big Stopper, and basically what it is, it's a 10-stop filter. Let me show you what it looks like. This is it right here. All right, it's a big black piece of glass, and basically takes your light and blocks it or cuts it by about 10 stops. Now, if you look at the back of the glass, it's got some felt right here to be able to kind of block the light out. But this is done in concert with this thing called a filter kit, right? It's a foundation kit, the Lee foundation kit. And it's this mounting unit. This guy goes in here. It sits in there, and you'll notice that on the back of this, we have an area that has this kind of clip. Now, the third component for all of this is this speed ring right here. So this is kind of like a step-up ring where you screw this on into place, and then the entire system comes together. Now, why do you use 10 stops? Well, if you're outside and you want to be able to take pictures of landscapes and waterfalls and clouds and things like that, a lot of the times you get really, really nice dramatic effects the longer you can keep the shutter open, and whether or not you can do this at lower apertures or shallower depths of field. So you don't have the option to be able to do that. You hit a limit when you start doing that, right? So what'll happen is if you try to do that at 200 ISO at 2.8,
You're going to overexpose.
you're going to overexpose all the time. So by putting a black glass on that, it makes it a lot easier for you to be able to kind of drag that shutter and get some nice ethereal effects. That's one thing. The reason that I appreciate this over, let's say, a screw mount system is that when you're trying to compose a shot, when you're doing this, what'll happen is you'll have to focus. Looking through a black piece of glass is almost impossible to do.
Really, really hard to see through
So
that.
you're gonna have to focus, switch yourself off to manual, screw on a cap, hope that you got it. If you didn't get it, unscrew the cap, focus again,
Yeah.
right? So in this case, what you have is you can just kind of clip this on, and as soon as you put this here, you just lift this up,
That's awesome.
and you're good to go. You
Yeah.
can take that off, and it's also wider than the actual frame of the 77 millimeter, in this case, what I have, which will decrease the amount of vignetting that you have into that. So those are a whole bunch of other reasons for you to be able to do that. What I like to do with it is portraiture work. Think Joey Lawrence type of stuff. Imagine going outside, you have beautiful clouds, you have a beautiful scene, you cut the scene down by 10 stops and you shoot at 2.8. Everything gets nice and dark, and now you bring back in some light. So here's a quick picture in which I did that. I basically shot with a 10 stop. The entire scene in the back drags a little bit, so it looks a little moody, and then you kiss it with a little bit of light, and
such a
you
cool
get almost
effect.
kind of like that kind of museum-ish kind of look, which I think is really, really cool. So I like using it for portraiture. It's really, really nice for long exposure work, and all of that stuff, you can see it over at leefilters.com. You can order these at B&H, you can order these in Amazon. They've been on back order for a long time because of the high demand, but I've spoken to the guys at Lee. They said that they've got a new product, it's coming out. It's going to be in the pipeline, so it's something that I think is invaluable if you want to kind of take the next step in that portraiture and long exposure series.
Thanks, RC. That's a really cool tip, and it really does give you some insight to that artistic look. There are quite a few artistic looks that you get from being able to make those longer exposures, and what a great insight and a cool product.
Oh, thanks so much. Thanks so much. Now,
We have something from Jay Maisel.
yeah, speaking of great insights, take
Yeah.
a look at this.
Any benefit to a lens hood?
No. My feeling about lens hoods are, if you want to impress people with how big your lens is, then a lens hood is a very good idea. If you're shooting directly into the sun, maybe it's a very good idea. But for 99% of the time, I don't think it's a good idea. And I never put a lens hood on my camera because it adds a visual thing that makes your lens more menacing to those people in the street. It has one good thing, I apologize, one good thing. On the innumerable times that I bang my lens into doorways, it's nice to have a lens hood on that will fall off, and I then have to follow down the street and pick it up and put it back on so it can fall off again. That's why I don't have a lens hood.
Yeah, awesome. Great tips on what to have and what not to have on your camera.
Hey guys, guys, Tom Bow here. We're at Copper Mountain in Colorado. We're working on a new class on adventure sports. We're going to look at a lot of different things in this class, everything from high-speed sync fill flash to working in portraits in a ski area environment. We'll look at gear concerns, what kind of pack to carry, how do you work on and off a lift. There's a lot of logistics that go into shooting skiing. We'll talk about getting that classic powder shot. We're also going to do one of the most classic things for ski photography, and that's seaming together a whole sequence of moves. It's absolutely fantastic. It's going to be wild. Should be a great class.
Thanks so much, Jay. He's got one of these ways to be able to kind of just impart knowledge that just kind of sits as a meat cleaver and just cuts right through you.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where we had the conversation about the lens covers, and every time I go into New York, I always try to go have lunch with him, meet with him, and do something. And I remember walking down the street with him, and he was imparting all of this knowledge, right? Think like Day with Jay Maisel, but it's just him and I. And we're walking, and I don't say anything, and I'm just kind of looking at the floor. And at one point, he just kind of like wanders off, and he looks, and he's like, and this is the part where you say, I understand. And I'm like, oh, sorry, Jay.
Yes, sir.
But if you want to see those kinds of moments, make sure you take a look at Kelby Training. Take a look at A Day with Jay Maisel and Another Day with Jay Maisel. Phenomenal stuff. That alone, with the Joe McNally, worth the price of admission. But we have a contest.
Yep.
Right.
Wait, I want to tell them about a website
that's
first.
right. The website.
We've got a great photographer. So speaking of inspiration, this guy is a NAP member. His name is Steve Soman. And if you just check out his website, stevesoman.com, really great stuff. And he does this amazing, almost kind of a punchy thing with light. He does architectural photography, and he's got a great eye. He just really captures interesting things, and things that you wouldn't think would be that interesting, a brick wall. But he does it really well, and he accents it with light. Visit his website, spend some time looking around in there. That's stevesoman.com. And now, because it's the 100th episode, we have lots of cool stuff to give away this time. So make sure that you leave us a comment on the D-Town comments here on the website.
I know that some of you are watching this on YouTube, some of you are watching this on our Google Plus channels.
Right.
Make sure that when you do this, that you leave your comments on the Kelby TV website. So you got to go to kelbytv.com/D-Town and go to the episode that we're dealing with. In this issue, it's episode 100. That's where you want to leave the comment. The comments on Google Plus aren't going to be able to get into account. The comments on YouTube aren't going to be able to do it. You got to do it on that site. That's where our producers look.
But we're going to give away cool stuff.
For those who do,
yeah,
we'll start off with a copy of Joe McNally's new book, Sketching Light. This is a bear. It's phenomenal.
That's a cool thing.
Love
Now,
it.
this is a prize pack, and here's a band for stopping lens creep, and a Rogue kit, actually. And this is for speedlights. So a nice grid set, multiple types of grids, degrees of grids, and then this is a gel system that goes perfectly with this. So nice little kit for your speed light.
Perfect.
And then a couple awesome photography books. Storytellers is one, and the other is People Pictures. So that whole thing is one package, and the final package is
complete. Oh, that too?
Yeah, but not with. I mean, it's going to be a third person.
Okay,
so the third person is going to win this. So the first person wins the Joe McNally book. And then the second person wins this other stuff that I showed. And the third person wins.
Oh, three winners.
Three winners. The perfect photo suite. Hey, it's our 100th episode. We only do that once. So the perfect photo suite. A very, very nice collection from the folks at On One. RC. It's been a pleasure, buddy.
It's been awesome. It's been awesome. Thanks, guys, so much for watching. Make sure you tune in. Go to D-Town TV. You have a Google Plus page. You have Larry's Cheap Shots. You can find me over at gplusrc.com. Leave us a comment. Leave us a tip. Whatever it is that you guys want to be able to see. Remember, this is your show. We want to be able to help all of you guys. On behalf of myself,
I'm Larry Becker.
We'll see you soon.
Bye.